Hi, welcome to my complete Acheron guide. Ever since Pentaconi was teased, Acheron has been a fan favorite for multiple reasons. But I personally just like collecting older Raiden Meis, so that's pretty exciting. Acheron is a 5-star lightning unit following the path of Nihility. She has a very unique kit and looks to be a pretty strong DPS too. In this video, I'll be going through everything you need to know on how to build and play Acheron, covering her best relics, planar ornaments, light cones, teams, and many more. Before we start, I'll be giving away a supply pass / welcome moon / crystal card to my subscribers at 4K subs, so make sure you subscribe to enter. First of all, what does Acheron do? Acheron is a 5-star lightning nihility DPS with an interesting twist on her ultimate. Acheron's talent, atop Rain Leaf Hang's oneness, makes it so you don't get your ultimate through the normal means, which is energy and whatnot. Instead, Acheron requires 9 stacks of /stream to activate her ultimate. To get those stacks, when any allies, including herself, inflicts a debuff on the enemy target, Acheron will gain 1 stack of /stream and inflict 1 stack of Crimson Knot on the enemy. In addition, during her ultimate, she will also reduce the enemy toughness regardless of their elements, and also apply an all-type resist down debuff on them. Acheron's skill, Octobolt Flash, gains 1 point of /stream and does blast damage. Acheron's ultimate /streams cries in red is separated into 4 different blast attacks. Her first 3 attacks will include Rain Blade, which removes up to 3 stacks of Crimson Knot, and deals damage to all enemies with each removed stack doing more damage. And her 4th and last attack will include Stygian Resurge, which does damage to all enemies and remove all stacks of Crimson Knot. Acheron's technique, Quadrivalent Ascendance, attacks the enemy, and reduces all enemy weakness regardless of their weakness, like Silverwolf. In addition, when she uses her ultimate, she'll also gain 1 stack of /stream and inflict 1 stack of Crimson Knot. But if attacking a normal enemy, immediately defeat them without entering combat. Now for bonus trace abilities. Thundercore makes it so when Rain Blade deals damage, damage is increased, and when Stygian Resurge deals damage, deal more damage too. The Abyss increases damage dealt by 115% or 160% depending on 1 or 2 other Nihility units in the team respectively. And finally, Red Oni immediately grants 5 stacks of /streams and applies 5 stacks of Crimson Knot when entering the battle, and while also making it so for every stack of /stream above 9, gain 1 stack of her technique instead. Whoa, that was definitely a mouthful. Acheron's kit is very complex and is definitely one of, if not the most intricate characters in this game. While I'm happy that Star Rush Raiden is cool, saying all that really made me tired, but there's no time to waste, and let's get into her best relic and planar ornaments. For our best in slot relic, we're looking at a 4-piece Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters. The reason why this is her best in slot is simply because you want to be running other Nihility units to fully use the Abyss, and while also herself applying debuff. Makes it so it'll be pretty easy to maintain a high uptime on this set. Otherwise, 4-piece Band of Sizzling Thunder will do decent too, with a mix of 2-piece of any one of these sets being a good placeholder. For her best planar ornaments, her best in slot is actually the brand new Izumo Gensei and Takama Divine Realm. Similar to the reason for Pioneer, you're running multiple Nihility units, so this should be pretty easy to activate with both crit rate and attack being good stats for her no matter what. However, Inner Salcedo will be a good alternative since her ultimate is a blunt over damage, with Firma being a good option too if you can reach the speed requirements. Now for our best relic and planar stats. Acheron scales of attack and will go the traditional DPS stats like attack and crit and whatnot. However, due to the insane amount of damage percentage her kit and her relic set has, and how much of her kit is based around her ultimate, she might actually prefer using attack boost and attack balls. So for our main stats, crit body, speed or attack boost depending on substats, lightning or attack balls depending on substats again, and of course attack rope. And well, as you can try in the regen, but I don't think it will go too well. So with Acheron being such a unique unit, will she suffer the same fate as Blade for light cones? Well, kinda. So of course, her best in slot is none other than her signature light cone along the passing short, as it gives her crit damage and inflicts up to 3 debuffs, making her ultimate just that much easier to stack while also doing more damage. In short, while she doesn't really need her signature, just like Blade, she's gonna feel much better and perform much better with it. But unlike Blade, she does have great alternatives, albeit it's Silverwolf's light cone which almost nobody pulled for because the event one was better for Silverwolf, but Wells light cone and Kafka's light cone will do just fine, with the only 4-star being Goodnight Sleepwell unfortunately. But Goodnight Sleepwell is actually pretty good at S5 and comparable to her signature, but it's S5 on a gacha light cones. Anyways, enough being said over her free to play ability, now let's talk about her Eidolons. Acheron's E1 increases crit rate against debuff enemies. Her E2 reduces the Abyss Nihility requirement to 1 and also gains 1 stack of Slash Stream and Crimson Knot on her turn. Her E3 and 5 are trace level increases, her E4 makes enemy take more damage from her ultimate, and finally her E6 makes the whole kit count as ultimate damage while making everything reduce toughness regardless of the elements, in addition to increasing her all type resist penetration. So the age-old question of E1 or Lycurn. Honestly, for this specific question, it's Lycurn no competition. Her Lycurn does way more for her than her E1. But if we were to look at the whole picture, E1 is one step to E2, which is where I think Acheron's max potential is unleashed, as now instead of forcing you to run 2 other Nihility units with her, she can now run a buffer like Raiden Mei or Sparkle, and let me tell you, that's gonna be insane. So basically, in a nutshell, if you can get E2, otherwise get her Lycurn. Last but not least, we get to her best teams. Realistically, at EZO, she really only has one team comp, and that is Acheron plus 2 other Nihility units with a sustain. Unfortunately, most of the time, a Harmony unit or second DPS will perform much worse than 2 Nihility units, so we are basically stuck with something like this. But for 0 cycle runs, running a buffer over sustain is always possible. However, if we're talking about E2 Acheron, now it gets much more interesting, as we can now run a Raiden Mei or Sparkle or even pair her with a friend from another universe, Bronya. As action advances will actually indirectly mean more Slash Stream stacks, as Acheron herself does gain a stack per skill in addition to their buffs. But if it were to be a bit spicy, another DPS could actually work very nice, since Acheron can be low skill point if running low speed, as well majority of her damage is her ult anyways, so just focus on that. Now that we understand how to build her, I need to mention her 2 main playstyles. Of course, obviously at EZO, she is the Mono Nihility enabler type of character, and at E2 she becomes the actually quote-unquote hyper carry. But what I actually meant by the 2 main playstyle is the low speed Acheron and the high speed Acheron. So for the low speed Acheron, this is gonna be the more free to play friendly version, as we're gonna be running attack boots with her, and she kinda just becomes like an ultimate bot. She's gonna rely on her teammates to get her ultimate up and just ulting to do damage while ignoring basically the rest of her kit. Do note, however, this build would not work with Firmament frontline, and Saseldo should be pretty close with Izumu due to relying on her ultimate. The second playstyle is High Speed Acheron. This version is more recommended if you have a signature Lycurn, as in this case, we are actually less reliant on our teammates to apply those debuffs and instead having Acheron doing a lot herself. Again, this playstyle is highly recommended with her signature Lycurn, as it will feel much better. But basically, in a nutshell, this playstyle is trying to get her ult as many times as possible. So yeah, I have to say, she's definitely gonna be one of the most fun characters to play in this game. As always, it is the Nihility path housing the weird and quirky, but yet cool and interesting units. As well, killing the enemy is technically a debuff, so Acheron's ultimate being enabled through different means is actually a pretty common way to increase variety in games with ultimates. But I have to say, it's only 2.1 and Starro is getting one of these units, while Genshin is at 4.5 with none of these.